All right. What is going on, everybody? I am super excited to be here with these amazing, beautiful women on International Women's Day. Thank you for joining us for Unscripted. We are a little bit late because we were over here talking about plants and having a grand old time. So, our apologies for getting started a little bit late, but thank you for coming and for watching with us. Unscripted is an opportunity for the Reimagine platform to highlight Black creatives and just to have them tell their stories, have an opportunity to learn more about who they are, and just talk about life. So it's a really informal opportunity. We're together for about 30 minutes. And then we'll switch over to have any questions or comments from the audience and folks who are watching. While you are engaged, if you're on the Riverside platform, feel free to send in anything on the chat. If you have comments or you want to affirm what's being said, feel free to do that. And then we can invite anyone up to the platform to share anything vocally at the end of our session. So we're going to get right to it because 30 minutes goes by very, very quickly. And I would just love to make sure that these beautiful ladies are able to introduce themselves. I'll tell you that Abria is a Boston native who began writing poetry at the age of 7. And then that wasn't enough. So at the age of 14, decided to begin her musical career. And so her signature statement is when I cease to create, I cease to exist. So, Abria, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and wow, first of all, as you were a child and producing all of this wonderful thing. So, who are you and what do you create and how do you define your creativity?
Mm. Well, I say I was a child creating those things. I didn't say I was a child creating those things well. um, so, so as you said, I am a Bria Smith, Boston native, born and raised, never lived anywhere else. Life in the bean. I am a poet, musician, playwright, actor, and those that sums up most of what I do. I try a little bit of visual art. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, what was the question again? I also have a really short attention span.
You're good. You're good. It was just sharing a little bit about yourself, which I think you did, unless you wanted to share
Okay,
anything else.
I think I'm good. Shay, it could be
Perfect.
your turn.
Perfect. Yes, so we are also joined by Shea, who has held numerous titles similarly to Abria. They're both like diving into different things. So Shea can be considered a singer, a songwriter, a style icon, a music curator. I mean, the list goes on. And Shea is influenced, particularly in her vocal practice, by soul and hip hop, rock and folk. And so she speaks to identity and self acceptance and transformation. And so she's also currently currently a student of yoga and meditation, which I've had the pleasure of being a student of Shay's student practice, which has been wonderful. So Shay, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you define your creativity.
Sure. So, all of those beautiful things that you said, thank you very much. I think the centerpiece of my creativity now is very much focused on the voice as an instrument for healing creativity and expression. And that's kind of been my anchor and really a way for me to grow and heal and understand all the dimensions of life with this instrument, this incredible instrument of the voice. So a lot of my work is centered around that, whether it's through the recording arts or embodied coaching work that I do, yoga work, as well as community organizing. It's about like how to manifest and care for your vocal imprint, your vocal impression in the world.
Mm,
And so now, that all of those things I went through that you listed off, all those evolutions of myself, I think have brought me to this place, which I consider really my highest purpose in the world.
mm, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And so I know both of you, um, you tend to tell stories, right? Through the wide varieties of roles that you've played, I feel like the central piece is that you're telling stories, you're allowing yourselves to be seen and heard. And there's also this piece about telling Black stories, right? And
Mm.
so would love to hear about how the two of you navigate that. Like um how do you choose the way that you're going to tell a story? Like what is that process like for you?
Mm.
I would. Oh, did you want to go first?
Oh no, you go. You can go.
So one thing that I would share is that for me, I had to have a way to communicate and to tell a story in the first place because I
Mm,
grew up as an extremely shy child, and it's even now it's hard for me to speak in front of people. I was nervous before I started this. So I needed to find my voice, and every creative outlet that I use is just a way of me telling a little bit of my story, but through different
mm,
characters. Um, and I think whatever comes to me as inspiration, like sometimes I will be inspired to write a song, and it might not be about a specific incident that has happened, but something like a recurring theme in my life, and then this song just comes. Other times I'll have an idea to write a play, like maybe there's a workshop that I'm
right.
doing and I need to write that for it. Other times it'll come out as a poem or as a rap. It really depends. I have different ways of expressing things, but whichever one I use at the time just depends on the way the inspiration comes. So
Mm.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think we're similar in that too. Like, I was also a very shy kid, and I really didn't discover the performing arts in middle school or high school. It was something that I came to later on in life. And so, through the performing arts, I had an opportunity to embody different aspects of myself. And probably a lot of
Mm,
those aspects were either suppressed for different reasons or kind of parts of myself that I abandoned or orphaned, even, or that I didn't know was there.
mm,
So to be able to write songs and perform and to embody these various characters and iterations of myself felt like a way to liberate things that maybe I wouldn't be able to get to in any other way. It's not always that it will come out in, like, if you see a therapist or if you go for a run. However, I would try
right.
to get to the root of some things that I couldn't express. If I couldn't do it in those ways, like storytelling and then embodying those characters revealed so much to me about myself and kind of where I am in a certain period. And it's just it's a way of I don't know, liberation. That's the word that comes to mind. It's a way of liberating the soul.
Hmm. Hmm. And both of you are really there's like a play-like personality with the two of you, which I absolutely love. It's
You're so
phenomenal. I think
silly.
Yeah, I would
it makes
definitely say I'm a big kid.
yeah, yeah. But I think that that's so important, right? In terms of like finding that joy and releasing ourselves from the everyday, like the heaviness and what you think you're supposed to be presenting as. So that's something that I love about the two of you. I feel like you present as your authentic selves, right? And you allow yourselves that childlike joy that you don't find very often these days, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that Abria was such a big part of that for me, not only as a student, we're similar in age, but um, I went back to Berkeley. So that kind of put me in I was becoming a student again and, dealing with the challenges
Hmm.
of trying to pass tests and, go through this life transition. I had already graduated from college before. So I was back at that place where I was second guessing myself again a lot in my voice and why I was doing music in the first place. And Abria, always being true to who she is, and having the same
Hmm.
personality that you see, whether we're in like a meeting with upper management or with students, never really breaking from that, never really needing to present other than who she is. Funny,
Mm,
makes a joke out of things, lighthearted, but also obviously, she's an incredibly talented woman who could
right.
show up for her work. And she's always helped me to honor that in myself and to stay true to that. We have these conversations all the
Mhm.
time about how you're supposed to show up. And Abria is
Right,
always like,
right.
you show up the way you show up. Be you, be beautiful, which is at the bottom of her email.
Her email.
And her email signature. And that really, and even when, throughout my various Berkeley career path choices and beyond, when some serious things have come into my life, Abria has always been a point of reference where I'll just call her up. She may not have known it, but I'd be like, Abria, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
She was like, girl, be beautiful.
That's so sweet.
Abria, where did that come from? So, for context, for anyone who's watching, Shay and Abria both are colleagues of mine from Berklee College of Music, and at the bottom of Abria's signature, so at the end of every email that she sends you, it says "be" and then "you" as YOU and then "to full," right? So,
Oh, it's
where did that
the
come from,
whole thing is
Abria?
have a beautiful day.
Right, have a beautiful day. So that's at the end of every email that Abria sends. Tell us about that, Abria.
It's funny. I didn't make it up. I would like to say that I did. I saw that somewhere and I was like, I absolutely love that because I'm all about being myself because I actually don't think I know how to be anyone else except if I'm on stage.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I
right.
don't really have that ability to pretend to be someone else in real life because it does not sit well with me, you know? And
Right.
everyone
Yeah.
who I feel like everyone who knows me and who has the time to actually get to know me a little bit because it's not really always that easy because I distance myself from people. I do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll tell you, you know, they'll probably tell you the same thing. I'm silly, but when it comes time to be serious, then it's time to be serious, you know. But I look at life
Right.
like it's like I don't believe in taking myself too seriously. I'm just me. I'm just a person, you know, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe in allowing other people to take themselves too seriously if it's going to affect me negatively. You know,
Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not that I can stop them from doing that, but I can stop that from affecting
Right.
me. You know.
You. Right.
Hmm. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
believe in
Yeah.
celebrating
That's really
people.
powerful.
I don't know. I like to encourage people to be themselves and to celebrate who they are and to love themselves for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of my mottos. It's like I love aggressively. I don't always like everyone or everything, but I care for and love
Right.
aggressively, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so powerful. And I think, there's a lot of conversation about what does authenticity mean right at this time. It feels like a buzzword at the moment, but it also feels like the two of you live that, right? So if there was like a definition, I would have the two of you next to it if we could include names, in terms of being able to really understand, like, what does it mean to live your authentic self, right? And to not have to put on for others. And I think that allows you to thrive in many ways, and why you're able to manage so many roles as you navigate the world. But I would love to hear from the two of you, like, what does thriving mean to you as you think about being authentic and being yourself? How do you thrive? Like, what does that mean for you?
Hmm.
Thrive. I guess it depends on you know what you mean by thriving. Is it thriving or do you mean how do you survive? Like you know,
Right.
because I think
So moving past the survival, right? Moving past the survival, like we we always have to do that, right? But I'm talking about the thriving and allowing ourselves to really be able to live and love and be happy and find joy, you know. what does that look like for you?
I for me, I what I had to learn is to choose to be happy, like no matter what's going on, because if you're yourself and you're vulnerable, like I'm a very sensitive, vulnerable person. I think a lot of creative people are. Um,
Hmm.
you get a lot of bumps and bruises from that because it's like you're wide open and sensitive to a lot of things. But for me, it's
Right.
like stuff is going to be there. Stuff is going to happen. If you look for bad stuff, you'll find it. If you look for good stuff, you'll find it. But
Hmm.
if you start from a place where you just decide you're going to be happy, like whatever happens doesn't matter. That stuff comes and
Right.
goes. But if you choose to be happy and to make the most of everything that's presented to you, then you're happy, you know? And for
Right.
me, that's how I thrive, and that's how I don't stay depressed. That's that I choose to be happy. I don't always feel happy, but I know that eventually I'll be happy again if for some reason
Mm-hmm.
something happens to interrupt that.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say one of my teachers shared with me a quote of hers, which is, we have access to our full selves always. And, what does that really mean to have access to your full self? In the daily struggles of life, everyday responsibilities and calls and emails and the things that can keep kind of pulling us away from that inner self, that center self, that divine
Hmm.
self, we can start to forget that we have access to the fullness of ourselves always. So what is that for me?
Hmm.
Meditation, yoga, drawing, singing, conversations with good friends, cooking. Oh my gosh, cooking is thriving.
Yes.
Okay. And Abria is an amazing chef as well. But, cooking and all of those ways that we as human beings are rich and that's is accessible to all of us. Now, do we all have
Hmm.
access to it? For many different reasons, emotional, financial, there are many different reasons, but the fact is, inside of us, all of us, we have that fullness. And so for me, it's that
Right.
daily reminder, what are the tools? What are the rituals? What are the practices that I can do to ensure that I don't forget that about
Mm.
myself? And so that's thriving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is why I
Love
enjoy
that.
conversing with this human being here.
You know we thriving, girl.
Period, girl.
Positive.
We be having deep conversations.
And Simone, just to let you know, we talked about you once behind your back because we both
Oh,
think that
Ooh,
you are an
yes.
amazing young woman, like for real. I was like,
thank
she's got
you.
because
I
you've got this
appreciate
like
it.
quiet fire. But I was like, she's a bad A.
Abria said, can I
I
tell her what you
appreciate that.
said?
Oh,
She's,
was there more?
no, you just said, I want to be Simone when I grow up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or something to that fact. Like,
yeah.
when
Something
I
like
grow up, I want to be
Right,
something like,
right.
which I understand completely. Yes, we both love you.
Oh my goodness, my heart, my heart. Y'all gotta check this love right here. This is what you need to thrive, honestly,
Hmm.
that's
is
what it's
the
about.
support and the community, right? Because you can't do it yourself. You
Yeah.
can't do it yourself. Yeah. And I would, so that brings me to what I would love to hear by the two of you is some of the women that inspire you. And certainly if you'd like to sprinkle some black women in there, please do. But you could have a diverse inspirational pool. But who drives you to be better? Who do you create stories thinking of? Like where does that inspiration come from for you?
Hmm.
That is a good one.
That is a good one. I know this is, I mean, it's just the truth of it for me is my mother. And I think that is something that's come into the mirror as I've gotten older,
Mm,
starting to really process, her sacrifices, her strength, her hard work, as a mom and wife, and even in her own
Mhm.
job environments, various environments that she's worked in. And recently I kind of distilled down, like, because we had a health scare with her not too long ago. Like, what are the things that she has given to me that I will need to survive when I don't have her here in this physical realm? And
Mhm.
because of this health scare, those things started to kind of really come into focus in a very clear way. And so I would say my mother taught us how to love, and how to love deeply, and to love with vulnerability, and to love unconditionally, even if you know it's going to hurt you. And that has allowed me
Mhm.
to be able to fall in love, which I know is very special and sometimes rare.
Right.
She taught and instilled in me to listen to my intuition, and to be really clued into that intuition in a deep way, to my gut feeling, and not second guess it. And she taught us
Right.
like common sense, right? So
Mhm.
all
Mm.
this schooling and education, and then there's common
Yeah.
sense, right?
Underrated.
Which is
Underrated.
so underrated. And my mom is like a very, I think Abria and I, both our moms, are like, say, she says what she means.
Exactly.
She means
Mm.
what she says. She's not
Right.
apologetic. And it's just so fierce. And so with those three kind of like pillars, and there are more, there will be more as I'm going through this beautiful relationship with her post this health scare, common sense, trusting your gut, and loving unconditionally, that will get you really far in life. And so I'm just so deeply
Mhm.
grateful for those seeds that she has poured into myself and my brothers.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'd have to say it's similar for me too. Definitely, my mother was probably the strongest influence on me in the whole say what you mean what you say. Your word is your
mhm.
bond. Is bond, and stuff like that. And the other thing with just in terms of like sacrifice and working hard. Like if you want something, you work for it. You don't just wait for someone to give it to you.
Right.
You work your behind off and you get it. And that's just how it is. And I
Mhm.
would say, yeah, so definitely my mom first. And I would say other, like in terms of my different artistic practices, there have been just some very strong women I've been very fortunate enough to have as kind of like mentors and teachers where like for me it's like I'm a poet but I was never I'm not a very worldly person, so I was never out there like studying a lot of other poets. my
Right.
my world is really internal, so maybe I'd come in contact with something that would inspire me, but it was a lot of stuff that I just kind of filtered through the world in
Mm.
my mind, but having, other mentors who have lived out in the world and
Mm,
experienced all of
Right.
those things and having them bring that knowledge to me
Back.
has
Mhm.
been amazing. So it's more of not I respect and admire a lot of like famous like icons and performers and poets, but it's really the people who have actually interacted with me on a personal level who affected me more than
Right.
anyone else.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's deep. I do think that that's something that some folks can miss, right? In terms of that idea of, who inspires you. You tend to think about the famous people and the ones who get all the fame and the ones who are out there doing it, but you've never actually met, right? And not realizing the gems that you get from those interpersonal relationships that you have with the everyday people, right? That you might take for granted. So that's so powerful that the two of you, which I'm not surprised, y'all took the personal route. That's very in line with who you are. So not surprised in any capacity.
I mean, of course, like the Whitneys and the Mariahs and the,
Right.
I mean, absolutely. And there's, even folks at Berkeley who are,
Hmm.
incredibly inspirational to me. But yeah, close to home these days feels
Yeah.
like the juicy
Yeah.
the juicy stuff.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
real. And so as we come up on this half hour, I wanted to ask, so in the spirit of the reimagined platform, ask the two of you, if you were to imagine, right, and utilize, your ability to craft and curate, what does a world look like for you where Black women particularly are abundantly loved, they are valued, they're humanized, they're protected? Like what does that world look like for you? How do you envision that for our future?
Mm.
Hmm. I don't. I would say to me, what that looks like is just us showing up for each other. Period. Supporting each other, and just,
Mhm.
as I said before, aggressively loving each other. That's one thing that's so important to me. Is you see your sister, you celebrate your sister, you let her know, I see you, I
Mhm.
see you. I
Mhm.
don't have
Mhm.
I don't have expectations of you except for you to bring your true self and be loved.
Right.
Period. And for me, it's really just about loving, because I feel like when you love someone unconditionally and celebrate them for who they are, then they can really be who they are and thrive. And if one of us
Mhm.
thrives, we all do. You know.
Right.
So.
Yes. I would say having access to the arts, and to, dance and writing and voice. I came to my voice and movement and dance so late, and I don't know why
Mm.
exactly. But we are that, like Black women, Black people. We dance, we
Yeah.
sing, we are embodied, and I
Mhm.
feel like when we don't know that that is part of our ancestry, elders, those yet to be born, like our whole narrative story, I feel like we feel defeated. We don't have that outlet. And so I know that there are a lot of young Black women and girls, or even women, who have just not realized that that's part of our skin,
Mm.
to be in that. And so I would love every Black woman and girl to dance their truth, sing their truth, celebrate who they are in words, film, television, like whatever it is, and to know that it is
Mhm.
accessible to them.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
when I didn't know that about me, because I didn't see it reflected on TV, movies, radio, all the places that I aspired to be, I didn't think it was for me.
Right.
But we are that. And so that's how I would love to see it reimagined for every single one of us.
Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, what better culminate? I mean, really? Come on, y'all. Come on. So,
You want to do the WAP, Abria? You could do it with me. Come on, I know.
Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh
Oh no, she's doing the snake. I can't right now.
Now, if I was
oh
standing,
my
I'd be doing the
gosh.
running man.
I
See,
know you were gonna say the
I
running man.
told
I
you.
knew it because we're in each other's brain. I knew you were gonna say the running man.
Simone, we told you not to let us get started.
The
Listen. We
robot.
can
Hold on a
always
second.
continue. Oh,
Can we do the
as
snake and I pass it
we
to you? Sorry. Ready? Okay, you go. Oh wait, I'm gonna start. Okay. All right.
ooh, there we
You.
go. Oh my goodness. Thank you both so much. As we end our 30 minutes, I'm gonna go into the section is leaning into the I. So you are just saying the first thing that comes to your mind as you finish my statement. So you're going to repeat my statement and finish it. Okay. All right. So we're ending out with leaning into the I. So the first one is I choose happiness by.
Cooking.
I choose happiness by trying to see the positive in any situation that comes my way.
Love it. Okay. I deserve.
Love.
Mm.
I deserve to be seen, heard, and valued.
Mm. Love that. Okay. I love on myself by.
I love on myself by eating good food.
I'm gonna keep it real. Soaking my feet in Epsom salt and then scrubbing
That's
them
a
down.
good
There's a lot of internal feelings that come from those feet. So that's
Yes.
important.
one.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. Next one is I will always.
I will always be true to me.
I echo that emotion. I will always be true.
Yes. And our last one, I believe that black is.
Hmm, that's it's like one word.
You get one word, three words, whatever you want.
I believe that black is beautiful, powerful, resilient, here to
Mm.
stay.
Here to stay.
Here to
Yes.
stay.
There you go. The first word that came to mind for me was glorious.
Mm. Powerful. Powerful. All right, ladies, that is the end of our unscripted conversation. If you are joining us, you can now hit the join the live button if you want to hop on and ask any questions. You can also send anything in the chat if you would like, and we'll be able to answer any questions. Um, so I'm going to give you a moment to hit that button if you would like to ask anything. And don't worry, I got some audience questions that were submitted if we don't have any. One hopping on.
Oh.
Hmm. Okay. So remember, you're going to hit the join button to join live for the call. In the meantime, I'm going to ask this question from John. How do you personally face your adversity in order to thrive?
Well, first I stuff it all down. Just kidding. Just
You are such a crazy person. I love it.
listen. I'm keeping it real. And then when it and then when it comes back up, I think I think what I usually do is I end up writing it into a poem or a play, and I have characters who work through these traumas, and I actually learn
Mm,
something in the process as the characters work through the trauma. So really,
mm,
I do a lot of it creatively because often it's just too painful to do it in real life, you know?
right.
Mm, yes. Is that question for both of us?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I feel things right on the skin, and so I tend to process and kind of it doesn't take me too long to start to work it out because I have a hard time holding things in my body for a long time. So I have very,
Mm,
depending on what it is, different ways that I approach excavating and eliminating the blockage. So
Mm-hmm.
yes.
acupuncture is one, Reiki
Hmm.
is another. Talk therapy, I really love talk therapy or like cognitive behavioral therapy, like any of those therapies.
Yeah.
Um, and then when like the going really gets tough, I write. So I'm not a writer every day, but
She's
when
an
it's like at
amazing writer, an
peak,
amazing
we
write.
as Abria and I actually had a session where we shared our poetry with each other, and we were like, "Ooh, girl, you talented."
Mm,
But
yes.
I only write though when it's like I'm at the threshold, and then when it comes out, it's like
Okay.
very very raw. Um,
Hmm.
those are kind of my go-to ways of processing trauma, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's powerful. And then the the other question that we have is from Trey, and it's what has been the most impactful piece or body of work that you've experienced in recent years?
Of someone else's body of work.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, let's go with that.
Oh, the most. Oh, this film called Black Girl. I saw it at a small theater in Cambridge. It's a French film, and it's about the story of a young black woman who was trying to get out of her circumstances, and she became a maid for this French family, and they were so abusive. I don't even want to give it away, but it's called Black Girl, and it's if you ever
Okay.
have a chance to see it, I was just stunned. It's amazing.
Mm,
I'm not sure. It's hard for me to choose one, but the most recent thing that I rewatched and read the play for was A Raisin in the Sun, and I rediscovered a lot of things about about the play, and actually because of a workshop I was doing, had the opportunity to look up some more information about the author, and it was just amazing to understand why she included some of the things that she included in the play, and how they kind of
hmm.
mirrored her life. So yeah,
Mm,
so A Raisin in the Sun is the most recent thing I experienced that was.
okay. All right. So we have Black Girl, we have A
Mhm.
Raisin in the Sun with the in-depth exploration of both. So there's some recommendations for anyone who is tuning in. And I didn't get any live call-ins, so I think we are good to go. I want to thank everyone for watching and to make sure that you are engaging with the upcoming unscripted sessions. The next one is in 2 weeks with some phenomenal creators, and we're going to keep it going. Also, Unscripted is open, so if you would like to participate in the conversations, please just submit the form. You can recommend someone else to participate. And of course, there's also the gallery as an opportunity to highlight Black creators through the visual means, and Unwritten to highlight the written stories through poetry, short essays, whatever it might be. It sounds like Abria and Shea that the two of you might be interested in submitting to Unwritten with the poetry that you
Mm.
all are crafting up. So I invite you to participate in that. But anyone who's engaging, please, please, please recommend Black creatives, and let's just celebrate together and continue to aggressively love on one another as
Yes.
Abria has told us to do. So thank you all. And please continue to follow Abria Smith and Shay Rose as they take over the world in their own fantastic ways.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Simone.
Simone. Thank you,
No
Miss Shea.
problem.
Thank you, Abria. I was about to call you my pet name for you. Oh my gosh.
Don't be telling the whole world.
Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right.